Welcome to our Window Masks 101 workshop about making and using window masks. The goals of our King County project Making Window Masks and this Window Masks workshop are to help people and to have fun doing it. Of course, it's essentially a very sad reason we're here today, that the need for window masks is based on this horrible pandemic we're going through. And we mourn for everyone who has died and everyone who has suffered in so many ways. But today in this workshop, we're going to focus on love and thankfulness, trying to help people basically. So thank you to all of you here today for watching this, for everything that you've done and are doing to help get through this pandemic and to make the world a better place. The main pattern that our program has used to make window masks is the SSOL pattern, created by a teacher in Singapore. SSOL stands for Sowing Seeds of Love. And that's what we're trying to do here today, sowing seeds of love. A window mask is simply a reusable cloth mask with a clear plastic panel so your mouth can be seen. Window masks, also known as smile masks, can help us communicate with people, including those who are deaf or hard of hearing, in speech therapy, learning to read, or learning a language. I'm Tom Watson, coordinator for the King County Repair Events program, which this Window Masks project is a part of. I work for King County Recycling and Environmental Services, and the reason an eco program is involved with a program like this is that these masks reduce waste and conserve resources because they're reusable, and because we try to use fabric scraps to make the masks. We'll have the recording of this workshop posted on our main King County Window Masks website. We also have plenty of other resources on there. That website can be your go-to source of info about window masks. You can just search King County Window Masks to find the website. And you can always contact me if you have any questions. A few housekeeping items before we get rolling. We're hosting this as a Zoom webinar. Only the speakers have their microphones and cameras on. This webinar includes both closed captioning and ASL, American Sign Language, interpretation. Our two ASL interpreters, Mary and Sarah, will be switching off, doing the interpretation every 15 minutes. To enable closed captioning, click the CC transcription button at the bottom of the screen. We have also put a link in the chat if you would prefer to see the captions on another screen. You can submit questions anytime during this workshop by using the Q&A button at the bottom of your Zoom window. We'll try to answer as many as possible. Include your name and email address in there with your question, and I'll try to respond within a few days if we're unable to answer your questions during the webinar today. So let's get started on making window masks, that section, by talking to our project's most prolific window mask sewer, Kathy Etchison. She'll share her insights on the cloth fabric to use and the ties for the masks. So take it away, Kathy. Kathy, can you turn on your video? Is that working?
Kathy, you're on mute. Can you unmute yourself?
Okay, am I okay now?
Hi, Kathy.
Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, the 100% cotton is the best kind of fabric to use for the masks. The high thread count is the best kind to use. This piece right here is batiking. It is very tight knit, and it is the same on both sides. But the high grade cotton fabric that you buy, like at Joann's Fabric, is very good. Don't buy the $2.99 fabric, buy the $6.99 fabric and use your 50% off coupon And then you'll be getting the right kind of fabric for the mask. And you also want some muslin, to high-end muslin, because I like to put white on the inside of my mask. It's not necessary, but that's just what I do. So anyway, then for the other masks, there's a lot of places you can get the fabric. You can get it at Joann's Fabric, Pacific Fabrics. The little local quilt shops are a very good place to get fabrics. We have one in Kent called the Running Stitch Fabric Store. And in the back of the store, they have roll ends of very high-end fabric, and they it's at a very reduced price. So that is a very good place to get those. And then for the other things you need for the masks are the vinyl. We're going to have a large discussion on the vinyl later, but this vinyl comes from Joann's with your 50% off coupon, and it's in the upholstery fabrics department, and I get the medium. So that's a good one for that. So anyway, and then you need elastic for the ears, and you can buy that the elastic at Joann's. There's several different kinds. There's the 1/4 inch, the 1/8 inch, there's woven, there's round, all kinds. So, but I prefer this small 1/4 inch. I actually bought this online. And so we put that in the mask. And the way I do it is that I put the elastic in the sleeve with a knot so that you can, the person who's going to be using this can retie this knot to match their face. And then you pull that back through the sleeve to make that work for you. And then another thing that you need is double back tape. And that is for when you're doing your mask, you need to secure that piece of vinyl into the opening so that it doesn't slide out. And so that's what the double back mask tape is for, and it works really well. And then these little clips, which you also can buy at Joann's, are very helpful for when you get the mask in, you turn it over and sew this to get that top part. And that holds it in place. And then when you go to, I don't know where my little piece of elastic went, but you go, I can't find my elastic, but what I do, then when you fold this over, I put my elastic in there and fold it over, and it all goes around so that you don't have to put the elastic in there later. It's sort, if you're making a lot of masks at once, that comes in handy. So anyway, and then when I volunteer at the Children's Hospital Thrift Store in Kent, and I make masks for them. I don't make window masks, but I make regular ones. I put all the masks in one of these containers. It's just a cheap sandwich bag. And that way they're not handled by everybody, and they're more sanitary and less apt to pass on germs. Yeah.
And Kathy, can you just, whenever you hold something up, can you hold it up just a little bit higher for people?
Oh, okay.
Almost like right in front of your face. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Kathy. And I might be holding them up too. Here's one of the ones that Kathy made, and I'll be showing others and showing some other things too. Kathy, thank you for that. And we'll be talking to you more later. And as is the case for everything we cover today, we may get back to some of these topics in the questions. And you can always go to our website for additional resources and links to lots more information. Next, we're going to talk about the plastic for the windows. Our sewers have used primarily medium gauge clear vinyl fabric purchased from Joann's Fabrics. Environmentally, vinyl also known as PVC or polyvinyl chloride, is considered a problem plastic, but that's primarily because of issues with production and disposal. Vinyl should not be heated, so how you wash and dry these masks is important. Basically, wash in cold water, by hand is fine, and hang dry or air dry, no heat on the mask with a plastic window, with the vinyl window. And we'll talk more about washing and the using window masks part a little later. The reason that we've used vinyl fabric for the plastic window is because it's been the easiest to sew and the easiest for us to procure, to obtain for this. In addition to Kathy, we also have with us 3 other sewers who have made window masks for us: Amanda Radak, Lori Heap, and Jessica Nash. Amanda, would you like to share your thoughts on the plastic for the window and your experiences?
Yeah, so we're getting some questions about what materials, and when we started making window masks, we were trying to figure it out too. And one of my first masks I made with a sheet protector, so just the plastic that you would shove a piece of paper in. And one of the dilemmas with that is that it wrinkles. You can't keep it clear, and it's very hard to see through. My son was making face shields, and he had some hard plastic, so I experimented for a while with that, and it doesn't keep a shape. So you can't get it to sit away from your face such that your lips aren't touching the mask all the time. So we ditched that idea. Really durable, but again, not serving our purpose. And we ended up with the medium gauge clear vinyl fabric. Kathy, could you hold up the yard good? Because you've got the spool of it. And then, so Kathy, say hi just to get the speaker view switched to you.
Yes, this is the vinyl that I got. Actually, it's like I was saying, it's upholstery fabric, but it works really great. The only thing, when you cut one of these out, when you go to pick it up again, you might not always be able to find it because they disappear really fast.
So earlier today, I crumpled my sheet protector and I crumpled my vinyl, and they are distinctly different visibility. So the medium gauge yard good is definitely our preference. You can hand sew it, you can machine sew it on a basic machine. Most of our sewers have quilting machines, so they definitely just slide right through this. It's not an issue. And I think that's what I have on window. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention is breathability. So one of our resources on the King County website, the Maker Mask website, has done some studies on breathability and mask usage, and their recommendation is that no more than 1/3 of the mask surface be window. So 2/3 of your mask has to be breathable. Kathy pointed out the folds that we've been putting in the top of the mask, and that creates space between the face and the mask, and it creates more breathable space. So Kathy's going to hold that up and talk, so the speaker view will switch. And then Jessica or Lori, if you want to jump in.
Okay, well, this is just the way that, like I was explaining, and then when you fold that up, it actually makes, like on this mask, it actually makes a nose piece thing where you don't really, it's not really necessary that you have a wire in there because it just kind of sticks to your face. And then this goes down and kind of goes right under your chin. So it makes a really good secure, and you breathe through these, and that's where you get the breathing through there. And that's where it's important to have the high thread count fabric, is so that the germs don't get through on either side. And this sucks up right to your face, so you should be good with that.
And that's the SSOL, the Sowing Seeds of Love pattern that is on our website. And lots of great information, videos and everything. So that's the one that we're talking about. We'll probably come back to the window fabric, the plastic fabric later, but for now, let's move on to sewing techniques and tips. So Lori, would you like to share some of your thoughts on those?
Sure, and I'm just modeling the mask that I just finished. It feels really good. I can breathe through it, and I don't see a lot of fogging. I don't know what you guys see, but it seems to be very effective, and I think they're awful cute too. So some of the sewing, the things I would recommend, there's a question here about the feed dogs scratching the plastic, because your plastic will be between the layers of the fabric. Your feed dogs are not going to ruin the fabric when you're sewing it, the vinyl fabric when you're sewing it.
So what are you saying, Lori, feed dog?
So the feed dogs on your sewing machine, that's okay. What feeds the material through your machine. They are very rough, and in some cases, depending on what you're sewing, it can damage it. But in this case, since you're putting the plastic between, like a sandwich between the material, so you have a sandwich going here, then the stitching just goes right on the material, and it doesn't touch the plastic, so it won't ruin it or make holes in it to make it less effective.
And Lori works at a sewing machine store and is very experienced, and so it's good to know that your experience making these masks today for the first time, actually.
Yes.
You made other types of cloth masks for our project before, but so you were pretty happy with your experience, and you were going to talk more about the machine use too, right?
Right. I'm very happy with how these came out. I actually found them easier than the first masks we made. And I work for Quality Sewing and Vacuum, and we have a myriad of machines that'll help you with this. But the big thing to remember is your needle size needs to match the fabric. So you want to use, a Microtex or a Sharps needle. I find with most machines, and this particular project, especially if you're using the batik that Kathy's using, the Sharps needle is going to give you a much better quality product, and it's going to handle the fabric better. And then always keep your machine clean, of course, because it won't work if it's got lint or anything in it. It'll be unhappy. And I've been doing this on my Bernina all day, and it's been working just fine. These are very easy to do.
Thank you, Lori, and we'll come back to more of this. Also, now let's jump right in, though, to the using window masks section. And I would like to introduce Barbara Bryant. And here's our slide is on with some tips. But Barbara is Children's Therapy Lead at Valley Medical Center in Renton. She's a speech-language pathologist, and the Children's Therapy Department at Valley Med is really the reason this project exists. When we were doing before regular cloth masks were readily available, we were making, these sewers here were making window masks for Valley Med to be used by patients and staff, and patients' families and non-medical purposes. And then the Children's Therapy Department asked us to try making some window masks. And so we did. And so Barbara, thanks for being with us today. I know you've been working hard all day at your job doing speech therapy. And so welcome.
Thanks for having me here. And thank you. I do want to start by just saying thank you for everyone involved in making these and distributing these. They have been really helpful in our clinic, and I kind of think we have a toolbox of options. We have face shields, we have surgical masks, we have eye protection. We have all these different things we can choose from, and this is a really nice thing to have in our toolbox. So just a little bit about us. We're an outpatient pediatric clinic in Renton. We serve kids birth to age 19. One of our biggest populations is autism. And a lot of times people who are on the autism spectrum have trouble with sensory things, have trouble when things change. So we've had a lot of kids who get scared when they see us in masks and they can't see our face. Let's see. So yeah, some example of the kids that we use these with would be someone who's very young, and we see a 1 or 2 year old and they don't know who's under the mask. If we're working on sounds, so maybe I'm saying, okay, put your tongue on your teeth like this. They need to be able to see what my mouth is doing for that to make any sense. We do have puppets and we draw things, but seeing it on a face really helps a lot. We're working on social language. So if we have an older kid, perhaps, that we're working on body language, and the body language on our face is really important. When somebody can smile in lots of different ways and it can mean something different. And not being able to see what your lips are doing can be really hard when we're working on those skills. So just some thoughts about our use on them. I would say that most of our speech therapists have used them. So this is the one that I've been using. I would definitely say having the straps, the Velcro or the elastic straps, as opposed to the tying, works much better. It's a lot easier to get on and off. I'm not sure if mine is different than the ones you guys are making, but my screen pops out, so I can take it out in order to wash it and put it back in. I don't know if is that typical or?
That was one of the first ones that we made, and I'm glad that those are working for you, but now pretty much all the ones we're making have the sewn in panels.
Sewn in, okay. I was wondering about that. Okay. I was going to say some of the pros and some of the response we've gotten from families is parents really like them, and I think that they respond well to them. We get a lot of laughter when we come out wearing them. They're inherently a little bit funny at first, but overall they're very, very positive with parents. And then we'll give the smaller ones to the kids to take home and bring back with them for each set. And we found that the kids are actually bringing them back. Most of the time, I mean, half the time they forget their masks. They don't show up with their mask, their regular mask. But when they have one of the window masks, they seem to see a really big value in it because they'll remember to bring it back and use it. Let's see, what else?
That's great to hear.
What was that?
I just said that's great to hear.
Yeah. Let's see. I also will often use them if I'm meeting a family for the first time, because it can be really isolating to meet somebody with a mask on and not really know what they look like. So those are some of the situations where I use them. Some of the difficulties that we do have with them sometimes, we have to wash them with a special wipe that we have at the hospital, at least the plastic part, and that can lead to the plastic getting scratched or discolored. So that can happen sometimes. We would need to change it with kids, so it definitely helps if we can have several masks that we can be washing and drying while using another one. So it helps to have several to choose from.
Barbara, that's wiping requirement. So that's a requirement from the hospital
Yeah, they are called Oxyvir wipes. I believe they're just very strong hydrogen peroxide, I think is what they are. So yeah, all of our stuff, I mean, gets scratched and discolored, my goggles, all of those things. So I don't think that's a sewing error or anything like that. It's just kind of the reality of using them in a hospital.
How do you wash the cloth part?
Just cold soap and water and then hang it up to dry.
That's the way I've washed one that I've used also.
Yeah, at the main hospital, they have some ultraviolet or something along those lines machines you can put things in and have them sanitized in a minute. But we don't have access to those down here. And
you wouldn't want to do that with the sewn in panels.
Yeah,
yeah. Want to do that with,
that's what I was thinking. So, so that's just, one of the issues, but, if we could use a mask 10 times, that's better than throwing 10 away, Let's see, I was going to say if we still made the ones where you pop them out, then having spare plastics would be helpful, but I don't think that that's feasible.
It seems like that just hasn't worked. Those just haven't worked that well for the sewers or the users.
Yeah.
Kathy there, our main contact at Children's Therapy, has said that at first there was a problem with some of the removable panels popping out.
Yeah, and I think that probably has happened. Mine luckily hasn't, but I'm sure some have. So yeah, it's just, I think that using these is often, it's a risk benefit analysis of, we have some kids who can't wear masks at all. We have some kids who can only wear them for short periods. We've got that menu of options. So sometimes I'll be wearing the mask and then I'll have the child across from me with a plexiglass barrier. So, I'm still getting this extra layer of protection and they can still see my face, but then there's also a barrier in between us. So a lot of times it's a matter of, how do we make this the most safe for this situation? Let's see. I do find that if mine doesn't fog up very much if I'm just sitting down and speaking normally. If I'm chasing a 2-year-old around the playground, it fogs up very quickly. So, a lot of times I might wear it for 10 minutes of the session, and then I might switch over if I'm going to be a lot more active.
What do you use for defogging?
So I haven't really used too many things. I've mostly tried to limit my exertion in them. I know that a few people have tried fogging sprays. I think 1 or 2 people tried toothpaste, but I don't believe it worked very well.
I've tried it and it's worked for me.
Oh, does it work for you? Okay.
What you guys are doing.
They may not have had quite that, and we're constantly wiping it off with the wipes as well, which can be a problem. I find that it's, if it's getting too sweaty, I'll go to a different activity and let my face cool down a bit and then come back to it. And that's usually the strategy that I use, at least.
Okay. For defogging, shaving cream has also worked for a lot of people. Just a tiny little dab, just wiping on the inside. I want to share one comment that we received just today from someone who used toothpaste on one of the masks that our project made, one of Kathy's masks. And here's a quote, the email I got today. I wore the window mask for a few hours after putting some toothpaste on the window and it worked well. It started fogging a little after about 2.5 hours. I was almost done wearing it, so I didn't reapply the toothpaste layer then, but I think I could have just reapplied it and it would have kept working well. The toothpaste smell was a little refreshing too. So that was a comment about the defogging. Other thoughts, Barbara, on the use of the masks? Is there anything else that you can think of? I'm so glad that they've worked for you, and thanks so much.
Yeah, they've been really helpful and we really have appreciated them. No, I don't think so. I think just, knowing that we have this extra tool is really helpful, and it's been really appreciated to know people in our community are sewing these for us. And, we closed for 1 week to provide childcare to the nurses' children that were having to work, but otherwise we've been seeing kids this whole time. Sometimes more teletherapy, sometimes less, but we haven't been closed any of that time. And, that's felt a little bit scary at times. And so far, knock on wood, we haven't had any cases in our clinic. I think part of that comes down to knowing that we have these different tools and that we have the community support to keep ourselves safe.
Well, thank you, and stay on. We may have some questions, and there may be some other things you want to add. And so another comment we received about related to fogging. This is a comment from someone that was on the City of Kirkland Facebook page, and they were helping to promote this workshop. And here's the comment. I work at a school for the deaf and have been making these like crazy since June. To answer some questions, they're not perfect. They do fog up and they are less comfortable than a regular cloth mask. but if it means my students can read my lips, I'll wear them in a heartbeat. Dish soap, bar soap, and anti-fog spray all really help with the fogging. And so it was great to get that comment. In most cases, everyone is just with the pandemic and everything going on, where hospitals especially, but others, it's just no one has time to really provide much feedback to our program about these, and so I sure appreciate you, Barbara, and others there who have been willing to provide that feedback. Let's see if there's any.
I wanted to give a little too.
Yes, yes, jump in here, Jessica, one of our sewers, Jessica. I really want to hear you have a funny story about.
So my mother-in-law, who we live with, is deaf. So we do use these like on every time we take her out, which is rare because it is hard to communicate with her.
So you're wearing those?
Yes, I'm wearing them regularly. This is a sewn-in one. And I throw this in the washer with the plastic and everything. And then I put it on a very low heat in the dryer and it comes out just fine. So I'm completely just throwing them in there. I like the bar soap is the one that I have liked the most for defogging. And I just put it on ahead of time. And if I'm finding I have fog while I'm out and about, I'll sometimes take off the mask and put a little hand soap on underneath to refresh it. And so that's just how I've kind of handled like the out and about situation. Like when I'm out taking a walk with her, it gets difficult in the mid when it's like little droplets around there. But my husband wears it often. And so the funny story was, he told me that his mouth always tastes like soap, and I've never had that problem. I said, stop sticking your tongue out at your mother. So, so that was the funny story. But yes, it does work very well, and throwing them in the washer is not that big of a deal. That's all I had to add.
I think with using the vinyl, though, I do think people really need to be careful about the heat, just in case that might.
That's why I do it on the air dry, and I just do these by themselves, and I just am able to pull them out quickly that way, instead of having them sit around.
And it has been recommended to use cold water wash rather than full hot water.
Yes, I just throw it. Actually, I just kind of throw it in like a regular wash because I wanted to see what differences, and it has not harmed the plastic at all. It's still pretty see-through. The only issues come in with fogging. So. Okay,
because the vinyl could conceivably leach and
yes,
and we won't realize that. I still think it's better to really not use heat on it. But thank you for sharing your experiences. I mean, you were a long convert. It took a while for you to really.
Yes, and those, yes, they are very. I do not make them as neat as everybody else does, and mine turn out very messy, but they still work.
That doesn't look messy.
So, okay, that was it.
Well, thank you, Jessica. So let's see, any of the other sewers, would you like to share any more, share any of your thoughts related to the use of these, or Barbara, add anything else?
So I just saw a question about the double-sided tape, and a product that I've loved for years that I just used on the ones I made today is called Wash Away Wonder Tape. And it will stick the plastic in there until you get it sewn down. And then that tape will dissolve when you do wash the mask, so it doesn't leave any residue. And I find that works really well to put the plastic in.
Thank you, Lori.
You're welcome.
And I'm not seeing the questions. We'll get into those later, but does anyone else want to share some thoughts about the use of these or the fogging? it seems like we've covered it pretty well. And we can get back into it in the questions too. Or so sewers, if you think of anything else you want to bring in about that, and I guess actually there is one other quote I'm going to read.
While you pull that up, one of the things Barbara mentioned that she prefers the ear loops, and I personally on a mask prefer the ties behind my head. I've heard issues with hearing aids and ear loops conflicting with each other. So all of the masks that we've been making have a channel, and somebody could change how it's attached to their face. So that if they received one with ties, they could put in elastic, or that's a modification that can happen later.
That's a great tip. And here is one, for example, that Amanda just made, and it has the ties. And so, as she said, you could replace with the channel. You could put elastic in that, and I've actually done that with my masks, my regular cloth masks, and that works really well. And I think a lot of people prefer elastic because it's just easy to take them on and off, especially window masks. You might be taking them on and off a lot. And so that's a little harder to do with the ties, but for some people, like with hearing aids, that's going to work better. So if possible, if a program or a person is making a bunch of these, maybe they could do a little variety. So this is another one that Amanda just made that does have the elastic. And in this case, she put the elastic loops on the top rather than coming off the side, which is another way. So that's just, but there's a lot of options. The user can convert all of those based on what they want to.
You can just put a shoestring in there too.
Yep.
Yes.
And I'll jump in and, explain why I said that. And in our setting, at least, a lot of times we have the kids dropped off, parents might not be with them, and we don't want to get within that close to a kid to help them tie them. And a lot of our kids would not be able to. So that's, one of the reasons, but I can certainly see why we would want to have each kind for different uses. But that's just kind of the reason why I find that.
I think for definitely for kids, whenever you're making a smaller size for kids, I would always use the elastic and not the ties. It seems there could almost be a choking hazard with the ties, I've thought, but that's just my thoughts. Kathy, were you going to add something else, or?
No, you can actually just buy shoestrings, a pair of shoestrings and redo this, for an amateur or beginner or something. They can do shoestrings and put them in here in place of this, and it works just as well. And also this retieable deal makes it better for kids and everything, where you can make it fit your face. But you can actually get shoestrings. Just buy shoestrings at the store if you're not, if you don't have anything else.
And actually, some of the masks we've made, Gail, one of our other sewers who can't be with us today, she was using shoestrings, and I think those might be some of the ones that Children's Therapy is using at Valley Med, and that in some ways it can be more comfortable sometimes too, but and then sometimes sewers provide the extra elastic so you can switch out too.
So I used a sliding knot on mine, so that way you can adjust it either larger or smaller very easily as well. And it's just that simple to pull it through, and then you can pull it back pull the knot portion back into the casing so that the knot portion is hidden. And that way you can adjust it any way you want to.
Yes, that works great. A number of the ones we made have been like that. I believe Gail, I think that's the same one that Gail called a fisherman's knot.
Oh, right, right.
Yes.
And
And also you can use t-shirts. You can just,
Oh, yeah.
t-shirt yarn is fabulous. And so you just cut a little tiny piece of t-shirt and that works. And it has stretch as well. And I did the fisherman's yarn on that, and that fisherman's
It's
knot
comfortable.
is very comfortable.
Yeah.
Yes, t-shirt yarn is fabulous.
So another thing, early on when we were doing solid masks for Valley Medical Center, they wanted no nose wire because people were using paper clips or cuts of aluminum foil or just really weird metal options. I have 3 glasses wearers in my house. And so going without nose wire in masks didn't work for them. And so I found a product at McClendon Hardware that is it's a tie for your tomato plants.
Oh, yeah, I've used those.
And it's foam covered. It's designed to be out in the weather, and it's about the right length for the bridge of a nose. And my masks will pretty much stay on my face without the straps, just with the wire. And we've been using that in our household masks for 8 months and have had no issue with it. So the latest batch that I just sent to Tom, I've added that product. And they're 20 wires for $7 or something like that. It's a inexpensive option and seems to be wearing well.
it's nice and firm, really flexible. So as a glasses wearer myself, I think that's great to have that option. If you have a choice and know that someone who wears glasses will be using it, that can work well. But as Kathy mentioned, even for glasses wearers, some of the ones that Kathy has made without, because it fits so snugly, it didn't seem to fog up my glasses too much. So that's something that is just kind of the user's preference. So thanks everyone. All those tips have been great. I want to jump into the short section about distributing window masks. And this is a short section because it's a very inexact science. For the masks we've made and distributed, as I mentioned, we just haven't gotten that much feedback, and that's very understandable. And we just have to try and work with the requests that we get, and anyone who wants to make these masks, I would just if you're thinking about doing these as a project individually or as an organization to make them I just heard about someone interested in making them for a school, or whoever you want to make them for. Just don't make assumptions about what they want. Make sure that they really want them and can use them, and that you make the type that are going to work for them. I think it's for some communities, such as the deaf and hard of hearing community or seniors, it's the people wearing them and using them are the people working with the folks who may have trouble hearing or are deaf. And so just working that out, it just requires a little finesse sometimes, but basically just trying to be respectful, and I'm sure you all would be, but it's not, you might expect more. If you want to make these, you might expect more feedback or more requests than you actually get. If you're with an organization, I would say just follow the tips on this slide, and anyone can always contact me for guidance if you're interested in making masks or an organization interested in using these masks. And if you're in King County, our project may have some window masks we can give you in the new year. And in addition to Valley Medical Center's children's therapy clinic, the original users and requesters, we've made them for several other clinics and units. at Valley Med. We've also made them and provided them to the great regional nonprofit, the Hearing, Speech, and Deaf Center. And we've so far provided some to the Vashon Island Senior Center. And so let me know if you have any thoughts there. And so now I'd say we're getting close to the end. It's gone so fast, and I've really enjoyed. I've learned a lot myself, and let's start the questions. And let me see if I can find the ones that Anna is sending me, and then we have some already. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to look on the Q&A. Okay, let's start with the question, does the fabric bolt save the thread count?
No,
No, it doesn't.
no.
Okay.
You kind of have to just go by the price, how much it costs. The more expensive, like I was saying, the $2.99 fabric at Joann's would not work, but the $6.99 fabric would. It's because that has the same, it has more of a thread count. When you look at the fabric, it might be the exact same pattern on the fabric, but it was put on a different grade of fabric. So it might look the same, and usually you can tell by the raveling on the edges, because the less expensive fabric ravels real easily. So
Also, if you hold it up to the light and you can see through it.
yes.
You don't want to see through it.
When you get used to it, you can just tell when you purchase a lot of it. And me being a quilter, I use the ends off of all of my quilts to make the masks. So they got some pretty wild masks, but I'm sure they didn't scare anybody. So
We love them. We love all your masks. Another question, how do you sew in the nose wire and wrap it clip? And Lori, you said you'd like to answer this?
Oh yeah, I accidentally pushed the button, but I did want to show that these nose wires also are available. We have them at Quality Sewing too, and they're very bendable to go over the nose. And these, if your sewing machine happens to sew over them, they won't hurt anything. Ask me how I know. What I usually do is I put an extra channel in the nose area, and then I tuck the wire in, and then just stitch around it real carefully. I have also just stitched it down to the inside with a zigzag, measuring my zigzag stitch, and that works well as well.
Another question, are these masks as effective as the cloth masks with the non-woven filter insert? And I guess sewers giving their opinions on that would be the best. I think it's a little hard to tell, and as effective, I guess the main criteria would be effective against the virus, and I think that's debatable. We have some of the information. I think the big piece from the Maker program on our website and our resources has a lot about that. But any thoughts on that question, sewers? Are these masks as effective as the cloth masks with the non-woven filter insert?
I can at least speak up for Valley, that ours had to go through employee health control, and they had to be approved before we could wear them. We can't just, bring something new in and decide to wear it ourselves. And they did approve them for use. They said we shouldn't wear them all day, every day. We should use them in specific situations where they are needed. But at least our organization did feel that they were appropriate to wear, and they signed off on it. So I can't give any numbers there, and there's, again, there's maybe no studies or anything, but when they looked at it, they did feel we were getting protection from them and that the trade-offs were acceptable.
Thanks for mentioning that. And I think they are very thorough, and they took a little while to do that, and
Yeah,
they did.
they did. Yeah.
They did approve those. So it's really hard to answer that question about whether, which are most effective. But as Barbara mentioned before, there are real trade-offs, and they seem it seems really for certain uses that they make a lot of sense.
So because I've been wearing them for longer extended periods of time when I'm out and about, I was very concerned about this. So when I was first starting making them, especially for myself, I added an extra layer of the non-woven material. So like the reusable bags that you get from the grocery store, that the weird finicky material, I used that. And I just added a second layer. So I did the same process, just had an extra little layer in there for that. And the other one that I have seen is putting some iron-on fusible, and that helps with that interfacing, that adds the non-woven material into the process, which actually helps. So it's like you have the woven, and then if you add one layer of even whatever material it is, but as long as it's non-woven, that does help protect that little bit more. So if you're using it for longer periods.
And the reason some people might want to try to use some of the other types of plastic for the clear panel is that they are types of plastic that are considered less hazardous in some uses than the vinyl. And so the bags or the screen protectors, they are a plastic called polypropylene or PET, polyethylene terephthalate. And so that's a reason, but in general, they don't always sew as well.
The King County resources link that's been in the chat a couple of times has a link to Maker Masks, and they have done scientific studies on the plastics and different materials. So that's a resource if you want to dig into that further. And there've been a couple questions around the pattern and the measurements and the sizes and like instructional video. So the Smile Mask pattern, SSOL, has a great pattern out there. It's free. You could scale the PDF and print it at 75% if you need it smaller, or print it larger, or you could pay them $4 and support their efforts and buy all 8 size patterns if you'd like. We've been, I think, using the standard adult size, and we've been pretty much making a single size. All of those resources are at the King County link, so we're not gonna get into that. We aren't gonna demonstrate sewing a mask because taking you through that step-by-step would take us too long, and SSOL has done a fabulous job with their videos. We wouldn't do better than they did. So I encourage you to find that video. And my first mask took me 90 minutes. It's not a simple thing to get into your head necessarily. But once you've done one, I haven't had to look at the pattern again. I mean, I trace and cut my pattern, but I don't have to look at the instructions again. So, 50 or 75 masks in, I just do the thing. And that was true with mask 3. So it gets faster, it gets smoother. It's kind of a fun origami project.
That SSOL Sewing Seeds of Love pattern, that's the first one on our resources list. And that's a project from a teacher named Jacqueline in Singapore. And it's the information is provided free if you use it. She likes that you give it attribution. And there's a way she has this little thing that I've seen other places buy me a coffee, or you can make a little donation. Feel free to do that, or you could buy the pattern from her. But we'd like to thank her for all that she's done to providing these resources free. The main pattern and the videos are all totally free. And we have time for a couple more questions, and I'm going to use the some of the ones I've already received. I think maybe it might be just one or two. So let's actually one question was about alternative products to these masks, and so I guess that would be a single-use disposable plastic mask that would be expensive, or buying window masks like we're talking about from an online source, from Etsy or something like that.
There are also some people that are using face shields instead of masks so that their lips can be read, and it doesn't provide filter, like it's not safety for you. It keeps you from breathing in somebody else's face, but it is an alternative, not one we'd recommend.
Yes, that you want a tight-fitting mask, whether it's a window mask or a regular mask that is very breathable.
At work, we usually, if it gets to a point where we can't stay 6 feet away from a customer, we actually do use a face shield in addition to our mask if we have to be close to a customer.
Thank you, Lori. And I can't believe that we're at the end now. We're going to wrap up. Just check out the website, and we'll beef up the resources and include some of the new information today. And we will have the recording up as soon as we can. It could be a few days. So I want to give my thanks here. Thank you to our sewing crew, Kathy Etchison, Amanda Radak, Lori Keep, Jessica Nash, and Gail Ichinaga, Gail was really our inspirational leader in the beginning, and she couldn't be with us here today. Thanks so much to Barbara Bryant and everyone else at Valley Medical Center who has helped us on this. I'm mentioning specifically the people who are on the call today, who are helping us with this workshop today. Lisa Hutchinson, our captioner, thank you. Mary Thornton and Sarah Pettigrew are ASL interpreters. And then Amanda Godwin, Anna Demers, Bridget Nolan. They're all with C+C, the wonderful communications company that helps support our King County program. Thanks for everything you've done today and all this year on this project. And thanks so much again to all of you watching. Thanks for wanting to help people and everything you do. And in the new year, let's all just keep sowing seeds of love. So thank you all. I love you all, and thanks so much for watching today.
Thanks, Tom.